thankful for things that worry you and bring you anxiety. We lift it up before God today. So what is it, church, that we might share with one another in trust and in brotherly and sisterly love that we might put before the cross this morning? Does anyone have any prayers? Things are going well? Okay, good. Pat. Oh, fun. Cool. Yeah. Oh, fun. Praise God for birthday celebrations all around. Was cake involved? Yeah. Yeah. I'll down half a cake in one sitting because I like to party. But that's good. Praise God. What else we have, church? What can we lift up today for you, for your community, for our country, for our world? Anything come to mind on your heart? I know we've got Alice going to college soon, so she's in the midst of prep for that. She's going for interior design, and so we had to get a laptop that can handle all the 3D rendering and stuff, so that was our big project this past weekend after we got back. But she's very excited. I know you haven't met her, but she's really excited and passionate and hopeful for what that might look like. All right, then let's just take a second and center ourselves. If my words echo yours, so be it, or lift up your own time in conversation with God. Spirit, we come to you with gratitude today for celebrations, for milestones, for new beginnings, new chapters. We give you praise for the ways that the sun beats down on us, and yet we lift up the ways that we find our souls weary. We submit before you the burdens that we still carry, the worry that we have of what the future will bring, where we are, challenges and hardships. We know that you walk with us. We know that you are the answer, the sustainer, and that we do not go it alone. Help us to be mindful that we are an ever-growing project, the ability to improve, to understand, to love you more faithfully with each passing day. May your will be done through us in small and large ways. We give you thanks now and always. Spirit, be with us now. Amen. All right, we got a story out of Genesis today from chapter 28. As stories go in the Bible, I guess it's a kind of famous one. It involves our boy Jacob. Jacob is part of the nomadic family of Abraham. Abraham's his grandfather. God has big interactions with Abraham. God has big interactions with Jacob's dad, Isaac. And God has interesting interactions with Jacob himself. I'll go ahead and read for us to set the stage. Excuse me. Jacob left Beersheba and went towards Haran. He came to a certain place and stayed there for the night because the sun had set. Taking one of the stones of the place, he put it under his head and lay down in that place. And he dreamed that there was a stairway set up on the earth, the top of it reaching to heaven. And the angels of God were ascending and descending on it. And the Lord stood beside him and said, I am the Lord, the God of Abraham, your father, and the God of Isaac. The land on which you lie I will give to you and your offspring. And your offspring shall be like the dust of the earth. And you shall spread abroad to the west and to the east and to the north and to the south. And all the families of the earth shall be blessed in you and in your offspring. Know that I am with you and will keep you wherever you go and will bring you back to this land. For I will not leave you until I have done what I have promised you. Then Jacob woke from his sleep and said, surely the Lord is in this place, and I did not know it. And he was afraid and said, how awesome is this place? There's none other than the house of God, and this is the gate of heaven. So Jacob rose early in the morning, and he took the stone that he had put under his head and set it for a pillar and poured oil on the top of it. He called the place Bethel, and the name of the city was Luz at the first. It's interesting that as Jacob is on his way, on his journey, right at the beginning of the story, it says that he stops because the sun had set, which strikes me as kind of a redundant phrase, unless Jacob was planning to go further. Unless the sun setting was the limitation that he had to adapt to on his otherwise planned trajectory. Maybe the sun setting was the hurdle that he had to face, that he had stuff to do, he had his own plan, but there was something in life that came up that required him to slow down. You and I have dozens of stories like this. One of my favorites is when Beth and I were on our honeymoon in French Polynesia, and the fire department of the local airport, which consisted of one person, was on strike. He was just out there. We don't know what the strike was for, but we could not get off this island. And our Airbnb hosts took us to the airport, and we sat around. There's nobody in there except this guy and like one or two desk attendants. And so Beth and I, dejected, went and sat in the cafe. Again, completely abandoned airport, which was literally about the size of our church campus. And one of the two attendants there came out and went up to us and said, I'm sorry, you can't sit here. That's just for restaurant customers only. And we looked around, and I'm bewildered, and Beth starts crying. That was like the last straw for her. Like, oh my gosh. So we stood up, and we walked 8 feet, and we sat on the curb of the restaurant while the attendant was like, thank you. We ended up having our Airbnb host come, who spoke fluent French, talked with some fishermen who had a motorboat, made a deal where we got in the boat, and he drove us across the ocean, to another nearby island on Raiatea, where we could get another charter flight, and spoiler, we got home. But we had to stop. We had to slow down our plan. We had to change everything. Our timing was off for everything, for our future Airbnb plan. All this was delayed. And we had no idea how we were going to get from where we were to where we would go. There was a moment of levity before we got on that fishing boat to go across the Raiatea island. This white van pulls up in front of us, and it's like out of a movie. We're sitting on the curb, and the van pulls right in front of us, and the side door flies open, and this very confident man, you could just feel the confidence oozing out of him, and he goes, I think I have a solution. Wait here, and he runs off. And then his wife gets out, and she's like, hi, we're on our way to Australia. We're from Spain. And so we're kind of making small talk, and this guy comes back 5 minutes later. You could tell he's got a plan. He goes, you can come with us if you'd like. And he jumps in the van, and they drive off. And it was a very striking experience. But this was a guy who had adapted to a limitation in his life and had taken proactive action to find another solution. Whereas we were waiting and more at the mercy of the circumstance and had very benevolent Airbnb hosts who were gracious enough to do the translating, come up with a solution, and get us to where we need to be. You probably have situations in your life where both have been true. Times when you've needed to take an action to overcome whatever obstacle or hurdle that you've got. You've got your pathway to go somewhere. You've got your plan to do something, some goal to accomplish, some milestone to reach, some connection or next level of relationship. And life happens. And our choices are either you do something. Sometimes you feel helpless and someone else does something for you to get you to where you need to be. Or you abandon ship completely and change course and don't even worry about that goal of where you're trying to go. We're not sure where Jacob is on his way to, but the sun sets and he has to stop. So he takes a rock and he puts it under his head for a pillow. We went to the Natural History Museum in Harvard when we were in Boston last week, and they had this amazing Egyptian section, and they showed these ancient depictions of what the ancients used as pillows. Here's one of them. How would you like to sleep on that? When we wake up and we're like, oh, my pillow wasn't very comfortable. Well, just imagine. Wake up in a neck brace. But this is going to be interesting that he takes this rock, he uses it as a pillow. He doesn't have many other options, so apparently he's got oil on him. And he'll later repurpose this pillow out of gratitude when he makes the altar for God at this place. Forced to slow down. Life changes where you're planning to go. And naturally, but metaphorically, he chooses to rest. This is hard for me. I don't know if it is for you. You're on your pathway. I like to be like the guy who came out of the van. I like to try to take charge and come up with an alternative direction. Say, okay, what can we do? How can I problem solve? How can we move from this place to place? It's hard for me to rely on others to help bring me to where I need to go. It's even harder for me to abandon ship and say, I just won't even worry about this thing, this place, this goal that I cared about. And for Jacob, in the midst of this crisis moment, he rests. This is very early Genesis motif, right? God's creating the earth and the world and the plants and the sky and bringing order to disorder. And then on the seventh day, looks good, I'm going to rest. And creates this paradigm of Sabbath that in the midst of our busyness, in the midst of our goals and what we are creating in our lives, that rest is important. Why? Maybe some of it is to honor God. Maybe part of that rest is that we slow down and say, God, for what I've done, I'm grateful to you. God, for what I have achieved in my life, I just want to let you know that I'm so thankful for the opportunity, and I know that you were with me and continue to be with me. I think that kind of retrospective gratitude is helpful for our souls. It's not helpful just for an ego stroke for God, but it's helpful for you and I to slow down and say, I'm just grateful for where I've come from, for all the ups and the downs. But in this story, and maybe in our stories, this moment of being forced to slow down, forced to pivot, and choosing rest creates a new perspective for Jacob. He sees something that he otherwise, perhaps, wouldn't be able to see. If you read the email I sent out the other day about the comedian Michael Jr., he tells this story about how conflict was necessary in his life. He's arguing with his niece. His wife pulls him aside and says, you position yourself to always be right instead of just trying to listen and understand conflict. You position yourself in these ways to always be right. And he said, no, that can't be true. But he took his wife's words seriously and he prayed, and God showed him this memory of when he was in middle school or high school in a special education class. And the teacher said to him, why don't you skip class more? You're not going to amount to much, so you might as well have fun now. And Michael Jr. realized that in every argument, every conflict, every performance that he does, he's always doing so to prove to that person and to prove to himself that he doesn't belong in that class. And he believes that God showed him that memory to remind him and to teach him about a growing edge that he had. And it is only through conflict that he was able to come to this new perspective. I reiterate that story because most of us like to avoid conflict. Most of us like to avoid the hurdles in our pathways. Most of us, it's really hard when life throws something new or different at us. It's natural for us to resist that change in what we are hoping to do or hoping where we would be. From job goals or financial status or health recuperation and recovery, all of these things, life is constantly happening to us and we have to pivot. And part of this Jacob story is that he's on his path. He is slowed down, but he is going to rest. He's going to carve out time and put his head on that thing and try to have a new understanding of where he is, where he's going, and why he's doing it. The ideas and decisions that we sleep on, that we pray over, that we contemplate. Jacob's going to take this rock, this pillow, and later when he has a new direction, has a new perspective, he's going to take that thing that he slept on, literally, and create it into an altar, a monument to God. What a concept. When we are going through our lives and we face any number of obstacles, hurdles, and we need to sleep on some ideas, we need to contemplate this next chapter in our life about what's going to happen next, what the next week, month, year, 10 years looks like. When we do this planning, to take those moments and to one day be able to create into a monument of gratitude. Say, God, in the midst of the struggle, in the midst of all that unrest, of that uncertainty, the ways that I didn't have a clue, the ways that I was so helpless, the ways that I was just sitting and waiting for help on the curb on an island in Huahine, I offer gratitude to you, and I look at that moment, and I recognize that you were with me then, and you are with me now. This is a hard lesson for Jacob. It's a hard lesson for us. Jacob's got a lot of wind in his sails. He's a guy who's a doer. He's deceptive. He lies. You can tell he likes to be independent. You get the feeling that he really struggles with how close God is to the rest of his family. These big names, Isaac, Abraham. And when he is forced to slow down, and in this case he has this vision, another time he wrestles with God and the angel breaks his hip. He struggles with his twin brother, and even after they reconcile, he lies to him and goes the opposite direction. Perspective is helpful and needed for someone like him, perhaps someone like you and I. So he has this vision of the stairway. And what's interesting about this, as it says in Genesis, it says that the angels, the messengers, are ascending and descending from heaven. It's this bridge connection point between earth and the heavenly realm. And it's not that he sees God coming down and going up, and it's not that he sees humans going up and coming down. It's just the angels, it's the messengers. It's the entities that we believe are the conduits in understanding God and humanity together. Some pretty amazing angel stories out there. Maybe you have some. But this stairway, again, it's not God through Jesus coming to earth. That's going to happen later. And it's not humanity being invited just to go up into heaven and to leave this world behind. The vision is that there are messages that come from heaven and can reach the humans on earth. And perhaps the subtext is, if you're willing to slow down, if you're willing to face the hurdles in your life, and take a second and listen. We went to a cafe called Yafa when we were in Boston. It's a Palestinian-owned cafe. It's got like 4.9 stars. We walked 40 minutes from our Airbnb to get there because we heard it had great food. We walk in, and the guy, I assume is the owner, big smile. Welcome, you know. How many times have you been here? This is our first time. We're from out of town. Oh, then you have to try this. And he pulls out, there's 5 of us. He pulls out 5 pieces of, baklava. Oh, man, that's amazing. Thank you. Oh, no, wait till you try this. And he pulls out some pistachio, almond, frangipane thing and gives us 5 more samples. It's like, oh, my gosh, wow. And he's like, oh, let me get you this. And he pulls out and he breaks off, another pastry, 5 things. So now he's given us 3 sets of 5, and then 4 sets of 5, and then 5 sets of 5, and then 6 sets of 5, and finally said, okay, I think we're ready to order. He said, no, you're not done yet. He's like, let me get you this. And he starts pouring drinks. It's this green drink that's a ginger, mint, lime, lemonade concoction. And he gives each of us a glass of this. And we're like, oh my gosh, this is so good. He's like, oh, if you like that, you should try this. And he gets another set of 5. And then another set of 5, and then another set of 5. And we go through basically the entire display that he's given all of it to us for free. 2 of us, not me, are full at this time. We've eaten so much. It's all been free. We haven't ordered a thing. And so we decide, okay, well, we need to bring some of this back for my dad and stepmom who weren't with us, but back at the Airbnb. And we want to support, what's going on here. And so we order all this stuff. And he goes, oh, thank you, thank you. And I said, so is Jaffa a noun? Is that a type of dessert? And he's like, no, it's a city. It's a city in the Middle East. And I said, oh, really? I haven't heard of it before. And I have some familiarity with that. I didn't say this, I want to come off or whatever, but I'm thinking, I haven't heard of Jaffa, Y-A-F-A. And we're going through all these samples, and I say, is it mentioned in the Bible, but is it spelled with a J? And he's like, his face kind of drops, and he goes, yeah, in English they put a J on it, but it's a Y. And I said, oh, okay, so this is the place that Jonah goes instead of going to Nineveh, right? And he's like, he lights up, and he says, not just that, but it is modern-day Tel Aviv. And he's like, Jaffa means beautiful and creative. Jaffa is the center of all things. It's the expression of life. It's where we get our amazing fruits and citrus. It's where we're born out of whatever. And one day we'll have reconciliation and be back together with true Jaffa. And I took his meaning to say that he, as a Palestinian man, sought that his pathway was a reconciliation with the capital of Israel that he had been separated from since 1948. And he names the restaurant. The restaurant is called Jaffa, this biblical place of wrong destination for Jonah, but now the central hub of the Israeli Middle Eastern culture. And it means beautiful and creative, and it's his goal. It's where he wants to go, and he's met with a metaphorical hurdle that the Palestinian people are not integrated, obviously, into that section, and yet builds his bakery around this concept of not yet, of where he hopes to go. And for 5 unlocal yokels who walk in off the street, that he gives $70, $80 worth of free food just to enlighten us and to treat us with hospitality. We order our food, and he says, do you have 5 more minutes? And we said, sure, we were just going to eat it right there. He's like, go sit down over there. And we go and sit. And like I said, 2 of us had already eaten our fill, but we've got this box of stuff. He brings over full plate flatbread pizzas with savory toppings. Alice had ordered a drink. He brings over 4 more drinks so the rest of us won't feel left out. And we have an entire lunch spread, all for free. And I mean, we're just blown away, and we're having a moment, and I'm talking to the kids about some of Israel and Palestine's history and just how important it is to recognize moments like this, right? Whatever your feelings on Israel and Palestine, whatever. Here's a Palestinian man who is just on fire for people, on fire for showing hospitality, whose passion is lived out in what he does and the beauty of it all. And it's time for us to go, and I asked one of the other wait staff, I was like, is that guy here? I'd like to talk to him before we go. I wanted to give him a big hug, and I wasn't sick at the time, and just tell him how impactful this was. And she looks at me like I've got lobsters coming out of my ears. And I said, oh, the man, the guy that was here with the big smile, can I talk to him? And she's looking around, and she looks at the other person, and she kind of shrugs. And it's like, is he back there? Is there a man? Is there a man back there, And so it's probably a language barrier. Maybe they weren't super fluent in English. I don't know. But it was almost like, I swear to you, church, it was almost like they didn't know who I was talking about. It was almost like we had this moment where this man just showed up and gave us this message of hospitality and hope and beauty and love, and then was gone. It was almost like he was an angel that had descended the stairway, had a moment with us to teach us something, and returned. Is he probably still there? Yes. Is he probably real mad? Sure. But you know what I'm saying? It was just one of those moments that I won't soon forget. Jacob is aware of the stair. He's aware that this kind of stuff happens. He's going to live it later. He's going to have his own messenger experience when he wrestles literally with a messenger from God. But he's not invited to participate in it. He has it as a vision. He knows that it's there, and this is such a truism for us as Christians. We know some of these tenets of who God is, what God does, and sometimes they just seem out of reach for us. Maybe you listen to that story that I had with Yaf and you say, I wish I had stuff like that happen to me more often. Maybe you have stories of friends and family, or even that you read in the Bible, and you're like, if I could just have that moment, it would help my faith so much. If I could just have some reassurances from time to time, really help me out. Jacob is really a full head of steam kind of guy, from my impression. He has got a plan. It's often about himself. And he's met with these hurdles that slow him down. And this vision of the stairway of heaven, I think we read the story and we go, wow, what a cool experience. And I think it's possible, friends, that Jacob comes out of this vision moment and is frustrated as all get out. I think it's possible that he has this vision of how God works, of how the angels are interacting in the world, and he's heard the stories of the angels working with his grandfather, and he's heard the stories of the angels working with his dad, Isaac, and he goes, it's just out of reach. They won't work with me. God isn't interested in working with me. Maybe you have moments like that. Maybe you're in that place now. You know that God is real. You know that God is working in the world, but you just don't feel it for you. He's aware of the stair, but not invited to participate in it. As a side note, the voice of this angel of God says, I am the Lord your God, the Lord of Abraham, your father. Bam! Abraham's not his father. It's his grandfather. So I don't know if this is a literary mistranslation or what, but it's not accurate. I bring it up only to say, when we have discussions with people about the Bible and we talk about the truest nature of the message it represents, but friends, there are inconsistencies. This is one of them. It's written by human hands with the best of intentions. God's truth is embedded in it, and we have something to learn from every story. But to say that it is infallible in how it's written, there's inconsistencies, and for me, that's okay. God says something really interesting here at the end, though. He says, your offspring will be like the dust of the earth. A promise that mimics the promise made to his grandfather, Abraham, in Genesis 12. It says to Abraham, your descendants will be as numerous as the stars in the sky, as many as the grains of sand in the desert. He makes this promise to an aging man whose wife has thus far been barren. This amazing miracle that he'll become Father Abraham against all odds, a new job for him when he thought that God and God's messengers were done with him. But the word that is used here, this dust, is the same word used in an earlier Genesis story, not with Abraham, but with Adam and Eve. It's the word that we use on Ash Wednesday. From dust you were created, and to dust you will return. It's a word that's loaded with a connotation of mortality and also reconciliation. It's like if God had met with him and says, look at this cemetery, look at this graveyard. I'll make your descendants as numerous as all the tombstones that you see, all the caskets and mausoleums. That's how many your kids will be. And it's not, I think, meant to be depressing. But I think this language from God is to say to Jacob, you are so inclined to try to do this life on your own. And you are so obsessed with how close other people in your life are to me. And you resent it. And so you're on your own pathways. You're doing your own thing. And I'm here to slow you down and force you to rest and show you and remind you that I, as God, have messengers and angels in your life at all times, and sometimes you see them and sometimes you don't. But I am at work in your life. Church, God is at work in your life. There are messages and lessons and encouragements that God is sending in your life and my life daily, weekly, monthly. And for Jacob, it's hard to accept that. And so God says, I'm not done with you. And the promise that I give to you is that there's still work to be done, and it's going to be great. And it's going to be great because your offspring, in the ways that they were created from the dust, have the chance to truly return to me in a similar fashion. It's almost as if God is saying to Jacob, you're so beautiful, you're so wonderful, you're so broken. You're so arrogant and focused on you and narcissistic. You're so wrapped up in yourself. And I just want you to come back to me. And I want your kids to come back to me. I want your grandkids to come back to me. I want you and your family to recognize that you're created by me. And one day we'll be together again. And the time that you have in this world is just, that's the book. From the chapter title that I wrote to the bibliography of your life that I wrote. You live in the pages in between. And in those pages, church, can you and I find the way to walk towards the not yet beauty that God has created for us? Can we work towards the creativity, the expression, the gratitude of all the dreams that we've slept on, of all the goals that we've mulled over and contemplated, all the ways that we've moved through our life and look to what's next? That we take those pillars and we create them into altars and say, God, thank you for this. Thank you for the opportunity. While recognizing that we have been given dexterity and intelligence and dreams that are our own. And yet us and our families and our own dreams are created for God's glory, that we might return to God in a new way, in gratitude and in thankfulness, as we seek to understand and listen for the angels and messengers that are coming from heaven each day, each week, each month of your life. They're out there. God is there with us now and forever. Amen. Friends, if you're watching us from afar, you wish to donate to the ministries that we're trying to do here at Celebration Church, you can go to Celebrate Church, that's with an 8.net, celebratechurch.net. Scroll to the bottom and click the green Give button. If that's the way that you want to express gratitude, it's what we're trying to do here for God's mission in St. Peter's and abroad.